The cold wind howled through the empty streets of New Eden, carrying whispers of forgotten battles and lost civilizations. In the center of the abandoned city, a lone human moved carefully, his eyes scanning the darkened alleys for any sign of danger. His name was Kale, and to most, he was fragile, a mere human in a galaxy filled with towering aliens, war machines, and creatures no one dared to face. Ahead of him, a figure hovered in the shadows, a female alien, her luminous blue skin glowing faintly under the broken streetlights. She was tall, fierce, and armed with technology Kale could barely understand. Her name was Lyra, and her reputation was enough to make even the most ruthless hunters pause. Kale froze as she stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "You're too weak to protect me, human," she snapped, her voice like steel. "I don't need you. I've survived entire wars without a single human by my side." Kale's heart raced. He wanted to speak, to tell her he could help, but the words stuck in his throat. He knew he wasn't strong, not like her. Not like anyone else in this part of the galaxy. He had no weapons, no armor, only a stubborn determination that sometimes felt more like a curse than a gift. But Lyra didn't notice his hesitation. She turned and darted into the ruins ahead, leaving him behind. Her movements were quick, precise, almost too perfect. Kale swallowed hard and followed. He didn't know why, but something inside him told him this wasn't just a random encounter. Something about her, it felt like fate. The city grew quieter as they moved deeper into its heart. The air smelled metallic, like old blood and oil, and shadows clung to every broken corner. Kale felt a shiver run down his spine. Every step seemed to echo like a warning. Suddenly, a loud crash came from above, a piece of the ceiling collapsed just inches from where they stood. Lyra leapt aside effortlessly, but Kale barely managed to roll out of the way. Dust filled the air, and Kale coughed violently. "You're lucky," Lyra said, helping him to his feet. Her tone was sharp, but there was a strange softness beneath it. Most humans wouldn't survive a single fall like that. Kale tried to smile. "I guess. I'm not like most humans," he replied, his voice trembling slightly. Lyra studied him for a moment, then shook her head. "You're reckless. That's your weakness, and maybe your only strength." They moved on, deeper into the ruins. Strange, flickering lights illuminated the path ahead, lights that seemed unnatural, almost alive. Kale's curiosity got the better of him. "What is this place?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer immediately. She glanced around, then whispered, "This was once the command center of the Xylarian fleet. They didn't survive the last war. Only a few traces remain, and we must be careful. This place is dangerous, even for someone like me." Kale felt a chill. "Even for you?" Lyra's lips curved into a small, grim smile. "Yes. Even for me." They continued, and the tension between them grew. Kale noticed small things, how Lyra's hand never left her weapon, how her eyes flicked constantly to every shadow, every corner. He realized that she was not just cautious, she was terrified, but she would never admit it. Without warning, a massive shadow descended from above, crashing into the ground with a force that shook the ruins. Kale stumbled back, heart pounding. Lyra moved in front of him instantly, weapon raised. The creature that emerged was unlike anything Kale had ever seen, a giant, insect-like alien, its claws glinting in the faint light. Its eyes burned red, fixed on them with hunger. Lyra fired, energy beams slicing through the air, but the creature shrugged them off as if they were nothing. Kale's mind raced. He had nothing, no weapon, no plan, but he could see one thing clearly: if he did nothing, they both would die. "Move!" Lyra shouted, firing again, but the creature was too fast. Kale ducked instinctively, and then, something inside him clicked. He remembered the small, forgotten device he had carried in his bag, a compact, human-made energy pulse generator. It wasn't much, but maybe it could work. He grabbed it, aimed, and pressed the button. A blinding pulse shot out, enveloping the creature. It screeched, thrashing wildly, and for a moment, Kale thought it hadn't worked. But then, slowly, the creature began to shrink, its limbs collapsing into itself until it was no bigger than a cat, harmless and confused. Lyra stared at him, her weapon lowered, eyes wide. You did that?" she asked, disbelief in her voice. Kale nodded, trying to catch his breath. I didn't think it would work either," he admitted. Lyra's expression softened, just for a moment. "I underestimated you," she said quietly. "Humans, you're full of surprises." For the first time, Kale saw something human in her: fear, admiration, maybe even a flicker of trust. They had survived together, against impossible odds, and everything had changed. The air between them shifted, charged with unspoken possibilities. They moved on, but Kale noticed Lyra no longer stayed far ahead. She matched his pace, watching him with a new kind of respect. He realized that surviving together had broken the barriers between them, her arrogance, his doubt, all melting in the harsh light of shared danger. As they reached the center of the ruins, Kale saw it, a massive console, still humming faintly with energy. Lyra approached it cautiously, scanning the readouts. "This is what I came for," she said. "The Xylarian archives, knowledge lost for centuries." Kale stepped closer. "Can we use it?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "We can, if we survive the others who come for it." Kale looked at her, a determined spark in his eyes. "Then we'll survive. Together." For the first time, Lyra allowed herself a small smile. "Together," she echoed. The ruins were no longer just a place of danger. They were a battlefield, a puzzle, and a bond forming between a human and an alien warrior. Kale wasn't just weak. He wasn't just human. He was the one who had changed everything, who had shown that courage, intelligence, and heart could stand against power, ferocity, and fear. And as they prepared to face whatever came next, Lyra whispered quietly, almost to herself, maybe humans aren't so weak after all." Kale smiled. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for sure: nothing would ever be the same again. The wind howled again, carrying their laughter and the faint hum of ancient machines. Somewhere in the ruins, history waited, but now, Kale and Lyra were ready to face it, side by side.